Okay, hello everybody. This is week 12 tutorial 11 recording for bu1003 and bu1903. We have 5 questions this week and we will go through them one by one. Question 1. The following graph shows the money market and the hypothetical economy. The central bank in this economy is called the Reserve Bank. Assume that Reserve Bank fixes the quantity of money supplied. Imagine the price level decreases from 90 to 60. Shift the appropriate curve on the graph to show the impact of a decrease in the overall price level. So price goes up, goes down. Price goes down. So now consumers will hold less money because they do not need that much money to handle the day-to-day transactions. So this money demand curve will shift to the left. So lower price level shift the money demand curve to the left. After the increase in the price level, after the decrease in the price level, the quantity of money demanded at the initial interest rate of 9% will be less than the quantity of money supplied by the Reserve Bank. People will try to decrease their money holding. In order to do so, they will buy bond and other interest-bearing assets, and the bond issuers will find that they can offer lower interest rate until the money market reaches its new equilibrium at an interest rate of 3%. Okay, the change in interest rate that you found previously will cause residential and business investment spending to increase, because lower interest rate means lower investment cost to increase, leading to an increase in the quantity of output demanded in the economy. Okay, the following graph shows the following graph shows that the economy's aggregate demand curve. Show the impact of the decrease in the price level by moving the point along the curve or shifting the curve. Okay, so price goes down, demand curve, aggregate demand will increase. So this is a movement along the curve. So aggregate demand move from this point to this point. Alright, that's question 1. Question 2. Physical policy, money market, and aggregate demand. Consider a hypothetical economy where household spends $0.5 of each additional dollar they earn and save the remaining 50%. So propensity of consumption to consume is 50%. The following graph shows the economy's initial aggregate demand, 81. So we have 81 here. Imagine the government increases its purchase by $7.5 billion. After the multiplier effect, the increase in the government purchases will cause the quantity demanded to increase more than the initial 7.5 billion, and the total increase will be 7.5 divided by 50%, so it's $15 billion. Okay, use the green line on the following graph to show the aggregate demand curve 82. So it increased. So this curve should shift to the right by $15 billion. So, for example, initial is right, and this so that's 82. Oh, sorry. 82, not 83. Okay. The following graph shows the money market and equilibrium at an interest rate of 6% and a quantity of money equal to $30 billion. Show the impact of the increase in government purchases on the interest rate by shifting one of both curves. So G increases, so aggregate demand increases, price level goes up, so aggregate demand shift to the right, so the price level goes up, money demand will shift to the right. Price goes up, people need to hold more money in order to deal with the day-to-day transactions. So money demand curve shift to the right. As a result of the increase in the government purchases, the money demand curve shift to the right. Imagine that for each 1 percentage point increase in the interest rate, the level of investment spending declined by $625 million. So previously, the interest rate, equilibrium interest rate is 6%. Now it is 10%. So there's an increase of 4 percentage points. So that's going to cause the investment to decline by $625 million multiplied by 4. So it's $2.5 billion. The increase in the government purchases caused the interest rate in the money market to fall. Interest rate will increase from 6% to 10%. And the change in interest rate caused the level of investment spending to fall by $2.5 billion. After the multiplier effect is accounted for, the change in investment spending will cause the quantity of output demanded to decrease by, okay, remember we have multiplier effect by 2.5 divided by 50%, so it's 5 billion at each inflation rate. The impact of an increase in government purchases on interest rate and the level of investment spending is known as the crowding out effect. So government increase spending that crowds out the private investment. Okay, use the purple line on the graph at the beginning of this problem to show the aggregate demand curve. So this is here. This aggregate demand curve will shift to the left by 5 billion from the green line. It's something like here. So that's the 83. Okay, that's question 2. Question 3. Changes in taxes. The following graph shows the aggregate demand curve. Consider what happens to aggregate demand when a government decreases taxes. Shift the aggregate demand curve on the graph to show the impact. So decrease the tax. So now consumers, they have more disposable income. They have more money in their pocket, so they're going to consume more. Consumption will increase. Aggregate demand curve shift to the right at every price level. Imagine the governments of two different economies, A and B, implement a tax cut of the same size. The tax cut in economy A is temporary, while the tax cut in economy B is permanent. The economies are identical in all other aspects. So now one is in A, the cut is temporary, and B, the cut is permanent. So which one will have bigger impact? Or which one will have smaller impact? The tax cut will have a smaller impact on the aggregate demand and economy A, because A is temporary. People know that it's temporary, so they won't increase the consumption. If they know that the cut is permanent, they will increase the consumption. Okay, that's 3, 4. Economic fluctuations. The graph below shows the economy in the long run equilibrium at the expected inflation rate of 120 and the natural rate of output of $300 billion. Suppose the economies of several foreign countries experience rapidly growing incomes, causing foreign spending on domestic goods and services to increase. So which means export increase. Shift the short-run aggregate supply curve or the short-run aggregate demand curve to show the short-run impact of the economic prosperity abroad. So foreign buyers increase their consumption of domestic goods and services. This means export increases, so aggregate demand increases. So aggregate demand curve shift to the right at every price level. Okay, alright, in the short run, the increase in foreign spending on domestic goods associated with expansion abroad shift the aggregate demand curve to the right, causing the inflation to go up, to rise above the inflation rate people expected, and the quantity of output to rise above the natural rate of output. The economic prosperity abroad will cause unemployment rate to fall below, because we need to produce more goods and services now. So the unemployment rate will fall below the long-run equilibrium, the natural rate of unemployment. Again, the graph below shows the economy in long-run equilibrium at the expected inflation rate of 120 and natural rate of output of $300 billion. Before the increase in foreign spending on domestic goods associated with expansion abroad. Now show the long-run impact of the economic prosperity abroad by shifting both the short-run AD and AS curve to the profit position. So initially, aggregate demand curve shift to the right. So we see price goes up, output increases. So people observe that the price keep increasing. They will revise upward their expectation. So they are going to ask for higher wages. So that causes this aggregate supply curve to shift to the left, such that the output goes back to its natural rate. So during the transition from the short run to long run, inflation expectation will adjust upward, because people observe that the price keep being very high, and the short run aggregate supply curve will shift to the left. In the long run, as a result of the economic prosperity abroad, inflation rate increase. Quantity output returns to the natural rate of output, and unemployment rate returns to the natural rate of unemployment. Okay, this is question 4. Question 5. The impact of government purchases on other components of GDP. Alright, consider a hypothetical economy in which the government contemplates changing the amount of its purchases. An increase in government purchases would lead to increase in inflation. G increases, aggregate demand shift to the right, price level goes up, which would prompt the central bank to increase interest rate, because usually central bank has an inflation rate target. So inflation rate goes up, they will respond by increasing the interest rate. This change in interest rate in turn will cause other components of aggregate demand, particularly investment, to decrease. Interest rate goes up, investment cost goes up, so firms will reduce their investment. This is called crowding out effect. The following graph shows the aggregate demand curve before the increase of government purchases. Shift the curve if necessary. The black point with the dashed drops line to indicate how the increase in the government purchases changes aggregate demand without the impact you identify in the preceding questions. So if government increase the purchases, increase spending, this aggregate demand curve should shift to the right. Okay. Note that without crowding out effect, the increase in government expenditures results in a quantity of aggregate demand of roughly here is 560 billion. Okay, if we read from no, not 560. Okay, so at the inflation rate, let me just redo it. So G increases, aggregate demand increases, so this aggregate demand curve shifts to the right at every price level. To this, we know that the inflation rate is at 6%. So we can read from the graph that the aggregate demand will be $700 billion. $700 billion. Alright, this is all about tutorial 11.